There is a breathing technique so raw, so confrontational, that it was once whispered about behind closed dojo doors in Okinawa. It was not taught to beginners. It was not shown to tourists. It was considered dangerous. Not because it harms you, but because it changes you. The Ibuki Breathing Technique was a guarded ritual inside traditional karate schools, forged in silence. Practiced by warriors who understood that true power is not in the fist, but in the furnace within the body. And what I am about to reveal to you was never meant for the distracted, the passive, or the weak-willed. You feel it, don't you? The heaviness, the sluggish mornings, the sense that your body is carrying something it cannot release. Modern life has trained you to breathe shallow, to live in a constant fog of low-grade stress. Your diaphragm barely moves. Your nervous system is trapped between anxiety and exhaustion. Toxins accumulate not just in tissues, but in neural pathways shaped by chronic tension. You train harder, drink more caffeine, push more reps, yet your explosive power is inconsistent. Your energy spikes and crashes. Something is blocked. I stand before you not as a mystic, but as a decoder. I bridge laboratory findings in neurophysiology with rituals carved into the bones of ancient martial traditions. Ibuki is not relaxation breathing. It is controlled internal combustion. It is pressure, sound, tension, and release. It is a biological weapon aimed inward, flushing stagnation from your lymphatic channels, shocking your autonomic nervous system awake, and teaching your body how to generate force from the core outward. This is not wellness. This is reclamation. If you continue breathing the way you do now, nothing changes. But if you learn Ibuki, you do not simply inhale air. You ignite a system that has been dormant for years. And once activated, it does not quietly go back to sleep. Now listen carefully, because this is where myth ends and mechanism begins. Ibuki is not mystical noise. It is deliberate, autonomic engineering. When you perform Ibuki correctly, you intentionally activate your sympathetic nervous system, the same system responsible for fight, force, and forward momentum. But here is the difference. You do it under control. You turn the ignition key without crashing the engine. That controlled surge creates a powerful oscillation between sympathetic activation and vagal regulation. And that oscillation is where adaptation lives. Your diaphragm is not just a breathing muscle. It is a hydraulic pump. When you inhale deeply into the lower abdomen and brace the core, you create intra-abdominal pressure that compresses organs and stimulates the lymphatic system. Unlike blood, lymph has no central pump. It depends on pressure shifts. Ibuki turns your torso into a pressure chamber. With each forceful, hissing exhale through clenched teeth, you create rhythmic compression that pushes stagnant fluid through lymphatic channels. That is what people simplistically call detox. In reality, it is mechanical fluid dynamics driven by muscular tension and breath. There is more. The intense nasal inhale increases nitric oxide production in the sinuses, improving vasodilation and oxygen delivery. The extended, resisted exhale raises carbon dioxide tolerance, which enhances oxygen unloading at the cellular level through the Bohr effect. In simple terms, your cells receive more usable oxygen, not just more air. This is internal combustion efficiency. Many modern breathing schools preach softness, calm, surrender. That has its place. But warriors understood something different. Power requires controlled stress. Ibuki introduces calculated strain to the nervous system, teaching it to surge without panic. Your body becomes like forged steel, heated, hammered, cooled, and stronger each cycle. You are not just breathing loudly. You are recalibrating the command center that governs energy, circulation, and force. And once that center learns discipline under pressure, your entire physiology responds differently. What truly frightened outsiders about Ibuki was not the sound. It was what it does beneath the surface. When you generate that deep abdominal tension and force the air out with controlled aggression, you are training your adrenal system the way a blacksmith tempers iron. Most people live in chronic cortisol leakage. Their stress hormones drip all day, weak and chaotic. Ibuki is different. It creates a short, sharp spike of sympathetic activation, followed by a deliberate return to control. This teaches your adrenal glands precision instead of panic. Over time, cortisol becomes rhythmic, not constant. Adrenaline becomes a tool, not a toxin. At the cellular level, controlled stress is not the enemy. It is the signal for renewal. Research on hormesis and autophagy shows that short bursts of physiological strain trigger cleanup processes inside the cell. Damaged proteins are broken down. Mitochondria become more efficient. Ibuki acts as a mechanical stressor layered on top of respiratory chemistry. The internal pressure, muscular contraction, and oxygen-carbon dioxide fluctuations send a message. Adapt or stagnate. Your body chooses adaptation when the stress is deliberate and contained. There is also the fascial dimension. When you brace during Ibuki, you are tensioning the deep front line of connective tissue, the same structural sling that transfers force from your core to your limbs. Traditional Okinawan practitioners understood this without anatomical textbooks. They knew explosive strikes begin in the tendon, the lower abdominal center. Modern biomechanics confirms that force transmission depends on coordinated fascial tension and intra-abdominal pressure. Ibuki conditions both simultaneously. This is why it was reserved for serious students. An undisciplined mind under intense breath strain can drift toward dizziness or anxiety. But a trained practitioner learns to ride the pressure wave. Ancient ritual meets laboratory validation here. The old masters observed results. Modern physiology explains them. When you combine both perspectives, you realize Ibuki is not superstition. It is structured stress designed to harden the nervous system without breaking it. Now we move from theory to execution. Technique is everything. Without precision, Ibuki becomes noise. With precision, it becomes transformation. Stand with your feet slightly wider than shoulder width, knees softly bent, spine upright, but not rigid. Imagine roots growing from your feet into the ground. This posture is inspired by Sanshin. The three battles stance: body, breath, and mind aligned. Your pelvis is slightly tucked, your lower abdomen gently engaged before you even inhale. Place the tip of your tongue lightly against the roof of your mouth, just behind the upper teeth. This stabilizes the jaw and subtly connects the fascial chain along the front of the body. Your teeth are lightly clenched, not grinding, but firm. Your hands can rest open near the ribs or be lightly clenched at your sides to reinforce tension through the arms. The key is total body integration, not isolated breathing. Inhale slowly and deeply through the nose, directing the air downward into the lower abdomen, not the chest. Feel the diaphragm descend. Allow the belly to expand, then brace it outward as if preparing to absorb a strike. This is not sucking in the stomach. It is pressurizing the cylinder. Once fully inhaled, pause briefly. 1 controlled second, maintaining tension. Now exhale forcefully through clenched teeth, producing a strong, steady hissing sound. The exhale should be long and resisted, as if you are pushing air through a narrow valve. Maintain abdominal contraction throughout. Feel the ribs compress inward, the pelvic floor subtly engaged. The sound is sharp but controlled, never chaotic. One cycle lasts roughly 15 to 20 seconds. Begin with 5 cycles per session, resting normally for 1 minute between rounds. Never rush. If you feel lightheaded, you are forcing speed instead of pressure control. After completing the final round, stand still and breathe naturally for 2 minutes, allowing your nervous system to recalibrate. This recovery phase is not optional. It seals the adaptation. Transformation with Ibuki does not arrive as fantasy. It follows a measurable physiological timeline. Within the first 24 hours after your initial session, you will notice subtle but undeniable shifts. Your abdomen feels warm, almost electrically alive. Your posture becomes more upright without conscious effort. Breathing at rest feels deeper, less restricted. Some people report a mild soreness in the deep core muscles, not surface abs, but the internal stabilizers. That is the diaphragm, and transverse abdomen is waking up. Your nervous system has been challenged, and it responds with heightened alertness, rather than fatigue if you executed the protocol correctly. After 7 consecutive days, the recalibration becomes clearer. Resting heart rate often drops slightly. Heart rate variability begins to improve, reflecting better autonomic balance. You may notice that stressful situations trigger less chaotic reactions. Instead of shallow panic breathing, your body instinctively drops into deeper abdominal control. Energy becomes steadier across the day. Not hyper, not jittery, stable. Your breath retention time, after a normal inhale, may increase by 10 to 20%, signaling improved carbon dioxide tolerance and oxygen efficiency at the cellular level. At the 30-day mark, explosive capacity begins to change. Movements feel rooted. If you train, your strikes, lifts, or sprints initiate from the core with more coordination. This is fascial integration and pressure mastery, translating into mechanical power. By 90 days, the adaptation becomes structural. Stress resilience improves measurably. Cortisol patterns stabilize. Recovery between intense efforts shortens. You are no longer leaking energy through poor breathing mechanics. You are generating and containing it. This is not magic. It is progressive nervous system conditioning, layered onto respiratory chemistry and mechanical pressure training. If you measure it, you will see it. If you stay consistent, you will embody it. Now the truth becomes uncomfortable. Ibuki is simple, but it is not easy. Most people will try it once, feel the intensity, and retreat back to comfortable, shallow breathing. That is why the technique survived for centuries inside disciplined circles. It demands presence. It demands intention. And it exposes weakness quickly. When you generate internal pressure and hold your ground under your own breath, there is no distraction to hide behind. You meet yourself directly. So here is the challenge. 7 days, 5 controlled cycles per session. Once in the morning, once in the evening. No excuses, no shortcuts. You will track 3 things: your resting heart rate upon waking, your breath retention time after a calm inhale, and your subjective stress level at the end of the day. Do not guess. Measure. Write it down. Treat this like a laboratory experiment conducted inside your own body, because that is exactly what it is. During these 7 days, you will feel moments of resistance. Your mind will say, the hissing exhale feels strange. Your abdomen will tremble slightly as it adapts to sustained pressure. Good. That trembling is neurological recalibration. That discomfort is controlled stress teaching your system precision. Remember, you are not hyperventilating. You are forging resilience. At the end of 7 days, something shifts. Your breath no longer feels accidental. It feels intentional. Your posture carries quiet authority. Your energy no longer spikes and collapses without warning. You have installed a pressure regulator inside your own physiology. This door has always been there. Most walk past it. Few open it. Ibuki is not about aggression. It is about contained power. And once you experience what it feels like to command your nervous system, instead of being commanded by it, you will understand why the secret was guarded so fiercely.